Yemenis waiting to collect drinking water in Saudiled, Yemen. A Saudiled blockade has threatened to choke off Yemen's freshwater supply. Yahya ArhabEuropean Pressphoto Agency, the food crisis forecasting agency created by the United States, has added its voice to warnings of imminent and widespread famine in Yemen because of the Saudiled blockade, now more than 2 weeks old. The American Alert on Yemen, from the Famine Early Warning Systems Network, said that a prolonged closure of key ports in Yemen risks an unprecedented deterioration in food security to its worst category, Phase 5, across large areas of the country. The 5-stage scale, with Phase 5 being famine, is used by humanitarian aid groups to anticipate the severity of potential hunger emergencies. Famine is defined as existing in areas in which at least 1 in 5 households suffers an extreme lack of food and other basic needs, where starvation, death and destitution are evident. Relief officials of the United Nations and other humanitarian groups have said at least 7 million people are at risk of famine in Yemen, the Arab world's poorest country, because of restrictions on deliveries imposed by the Saudiled military coalition that has been fighting Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi rebels since 2015. More than 20 million of Yemen's 27 million people need some kind of assistance, the United Nations has said. 2 weeks ago, Mark Lowcock, the humanitarian relief coordinator for the United Nations, said that unless the blockade was rescinded so food deliveries could resume, Yemen would suffer the largest famine the world has seen for many decades, with millions of victims. The Famine Early Warning Systems Network, known as FEW's-net, has long advised of the risk of possible famine in Yemen in the event of port closings or other obstacles to imports. But its latest warning, dated Monday, was more severe because of the blockade. Now that this has occurred, our level of concern has increased significantly, and the recent alert uses much stronger language on famine than our previous reporting, Marie Maroon, a spokeswoman for FEW's-net, said Tuesday in an email. At least 80% of Yemen's basic food supply must be imported, mostly through ship deliveries. The latest FEW's-net warning said that if all ports remain closed, or reopen, but are unable to support large-scale imports of essential goods, famine is likely in many areas of the country within 3 to 4 months. In less accessible areas with the most severe current food insecurity, the warning said, famine could emerge even more quickly. Saudi officials did not immediately respond to requests for comment about the warning. Based in Washington, FEW's-net was created in 1985 by the United States Agency for International Development to help decision-makers plan for humanitarian crises, according to its website. It provides analysis on nearly 36 countries. The blockade also has threatened to choke Yemen's freshwater supply and worsen a cholera crisis that has sickened nearly 1 million people. A Red Cross spokeswoman, Yolanda Jacmet, was quoted by Reuters as saying that fuel for municipal water pumps has been exhausted, putting at least 2.5 million people at risk of another major outbreak of waterborne disease. The United Nations and humanitarian aid groups have besieged Saudi Arabia to end the Yemen blockade, imposed in response to what the Saudis described as a ballistic missile fired from Yemen by Houthi rebels at Riyadh, the Saudi capital, on November 4. Despite Saudi pledges to at least ease the blockade, aid groups have said they see little or no evidence this is happening. Farhan Haq, a spokesman for the United Nations, said on Tuesday that the Saudiled military coalition had not responded to its requests to resume emergency flights to Sana'a, Yemen's capital, which is controlled by the Houthis. UN staff haven't been able to move in and out of Sana'a since the blockade, Mr. Haq said. While the United States has expressed growing concern about the humanitarian crisis in Yemen, it has backed Saudi Arabia in the conflict, which the Saudis have portrayed as a broader struggle against Iran's influence in the region. On Tuesday, the State Department urged American citizens to consider the risks when traveling to Saudi Arabia because of the threat of more missile attacks by Yemen's rebels.